A whole bunch of my scrap hardwood, and I'm about to try to make some stuff out of it. This whole stack is walnut, just scrap pieces of walnut that I had laying around from some other stuff I did. This is all red cedar, poplar, mahogany. I think these were oak strips. So I'm thinking ashtrays, maybe a couple cutting boards. First thing to do is process all this down to, usable lumber. Alright, this is all the poplar strips. It looks pretty rough now, but once you actually run your table saw on it. But yeah, now I can glue. Well, I'm going to run everything through the planer on all sides and everything else, but I can alternate strips or do like a walnut cross across some of my panels, or however I really want to do it. I got to really think about it, but I'm also going to have lots of reds in there too once I get to the cedar. I got them all ripped down, but I can pretty much take and do any kind of assortment of walnut, cedar, and poplar, and make either cutting boards, make little square ashtrays that are only going to be like 5x5. So like if I glue this panel together, flushed everything up, I probably can get 2, maybe 3 ashtrays out of this glue up here. So I can pretty much play around with any kind of assortment that I want to get the looks that I want. I can also take, a piece and run it across the, horizontally after I get it glued together. It can be walnut, cedar, or whatever. And pretty much after all the milling, these are the strips that I have. A nice little collection. And then I have some longer pieces that I'm planning to use to edge band my truck. So got a good little bit of material. I just kind of got to sort where I'm going to go with everything and then start planing. Everything is ripped, plain, smooth. They're all the same thickness now, so I can glue them up easily for a panel. Now I'm just about to go in there and just arrange different sizes and see what I like, and plan out a couple panels for ashtrays and a couple that I can make into cutting boards, and go from there. Those are the layouts I'm kind of playing around with. I'm about to clamp and glue all this together, and then I can cut them to, actual cutting board sizes. And then I have a bunch of short pieces that I'm going to glue together for ashtrays. And we'll see how the finishing goes. Odie's oil looks really good on stuff, so I should make a lot of this pop really good. This is one after coming out the planer. This one still has a bunch of glue on it. I have to scrape and run this one through the planer, but this is probably going to get cut off here. Or maybe do some type of swoop or something. Might make it like oval shaped. But that is one of the cutting boards. I managed to get blanks for 5 cutting boards. And then I have a whole bunch up here. These are going to be for little ashtrays. So this one's walnut, poplar, walnut, and red cedar. This is 2 different ones inside of one set of clamps. That's 3 inside of one set of clamps. So tomorrow I'm just going to plane all this down. I'm going to have to run all this stuff through the planer, get it all flat. Then I'm going to shape and design the actual ashtrays and cutting boards. And then from there it's just applying some Odie's oil. And then all good. These are all the blanks. There's 7 for ashtrays. I'll probably make that like a longer rectangular one. The rest of these are just going to be little 5x5 or 6x6 ashtrays. These are all the cutting boards. There's one more outside currently in clamps. This is the only one that's been planed, but it still has a few more passes to go, then sanding. Currently set up just to keep running all this stuff through the planer until I get everything flat. There's a ridge there. Yeah, keep running through the planer, then flip it over once one side is flat, then keep going. Kind of taking shallow passes so I think it's called skip planing, so you can pretty much take uneven or flat boards and then end up making them flat. Then eventually get them to about where this one is. This one's I was playing this one yesterday, so I have to plane all of these until they get to a point where they're all uniform. Then, fill with sawdust and glue, sand everything up real good. Then I can apply finish on them, cut the edges, and do whatever routing or designs I decide to put in there. I got all, one side and all of these flat. Now it's time to start flipping them as I run them through the planer to try to get the other side flat. I'm gonna get all this nice and smooth, and I can start cutting the shapes for the cutting boards and ashtrays. Also saw something on YouTube, and yeah, this thing actually fucking works. That's all the sawdust that I've produced after planing everything, and that's from using my hand planer. This thing has been catching everything, and I fucking love it. When the blower turns on from this, it just lifts up out the way so I can feed everything through. It doesn't get in the way. It's freaking awesome. Probably gonna leave this taped up here, or get a fitting. Didn't show it yesterday, but I used it over there next to the car, and fuck ton of sawdust. It made way more sawdust than the table saw does. Like, you have to actually sweep it up. You can't leave it on the ground. So this is a nice improvement. Cause fuck cleaning that stuff up. To keep taking light passes, so one, you don't overwork the planer, but until you gradually get it down to it being smooth. I'll probably take a video like the next 2 or 3 passes just to show what it looks like, but like I'm only taking off like a 30-second, maybe a 16th a pass. I think I'm doing like a 30-second just to keep from overworking the machine and keep from leaving out any tear outs. Done, and no, not a bunch of sawdust. Most of it's all inside this bag. Freaking genius. It's funny, it's almost like enough to actually make a pillow of just sawdust. Well, the planer is done. These are nice and smooth. I actually think that this is going to be my favorite ashtray. Walnut. That looks freaking awesome. Yeah, I don't even remember how many passes I had to take. I stopped counting after I don't remember. But now they're ready for, shaping. Either cut it and do whatever I want to do, and then we'll route out my actual tray. And voila, pretty cutting board. And I can take all these scraps, re-rip them, and then glue them into like a weird pattern and make more ashtrays. So after I get all this stuff cut, see what scraps I have, and probably do one more glue up. I decided to take the rest of these scraps and make use of it, because these are all the offcuts from the cutting boards and stuff. Just ripping everything down to 3/4, so now I can just pretty much re-glue these strips back up to make probably a couple more ashtrays, maybe like 2 more. We'll see. That'll give me a different look too. I can make 2, one rectangular one and one regular size one. I'll just glue these pieces up, cut these square too, and we'll add that to the stack. Currently taking my router and then putting a round over on all the trays before I actually drill the holes and route in the actual tray part. But I have the centers laid out, and then I made a jig. This is one of the jigs. I have another one for a smaller hole. Need to cut that out. Now let's tack them to the ashtrays and start routing. Before I change the bit in my router though, I'm going to go ahead and round the last of these, all of the cutting boards, get all of those rounded over. And then I'm going to switch over to my cutting bit and cut in the depths for this. And then I'll probably just sand and finish everything. Use my template in the router. You have an ashtray. Pretty. I just gotta route out these other 8 of them, sand everything up, and then we'll be done. So yeah, they're coming out alright. Just gotta do a few more. There's 3 out of the original 7. No. Have 8. Got all the ashtrays drilled out. There's a couple really cool ones. Now I'm currently marking out for my handles and all the cutting boards. Got them all marked. I'm about to drill all these out, rough cut them, then finish it up with the router. My next step is I open up my drawers, take 2 clamps, clamp the cutting board to the countertop, nail my template to it, and I take my router and I take a bunch of passes on the inside until I clean it out, and then I get left with the handle. And then I gotta take my round over and go around all this after that, but that's the process. This should be the final pass. Then you take it out of clamps and you get a perfect routed handle. Just pop the template off. Nail it on to the next one. You know, keep going. Well, they're pretty much done. Just a little bit of sanding and filling, and I have 5 cutting boards and I think 8 or 10 ashtrays. They all have their own unique pattern on them, varying sizes and shapes. I got all but one of the cutting boards sanded up to 80 grit. My next step is to hit it with a little bit of water, then go to 120, then 150, then 220, and I might go to 300. Then I can rub in my Odie's oil. I still gotta sand all of the ashtrays. Sand all of these. These I might not go up, you know, as high on. I might stop those at maybe like 120 grit. Alright. Been here sanding. I got all 10 of these sanded up to 150. Next step is, these are all sanded up to 180. To, Jesus Christ, 80. I need to get these up to 150, water pop them, and then take them to 220, and then I can start applying finish on everything. One issue I did have was sanding the inside of here. They didn't want to do that by hand, so I took a hole saw bit and some self-adhesive sandpaper, put it around there, then CA glued it to itself. So now it doesn't come off, and I can just take this and sand the inside of the handles versus having to sit there and do that by hand because I don't have a spindle sander. Small victories. Yeah, doing that versus sanding it by hand, much better. Everything's sanded. The only thing I gotta do now is wet the boards to raise the grain, and then sand it one more time. Everything's been sanded up to 320, so by wetting it, pretty much you raise the grain, and then you get to knock it down one more time at your final grit. The whole point of doing that is so when the person goes to wash it the first time, it doesn't pretty much get all rough. So if you raise the grain, then knock it back down, then put your sealer or oil on it. I'm going to use Odie's. You won't have to worry about it getting rough after they wash it for the first time. And it gives you a little rough. It also gives you kind of a look of what it's going to look like once it's done. Water kind of shows off how it's going to look. This one's been wet versus one that hasn't been wet. It's still dull. Really can't tell the difference. This one's been wet. This one's still dull. Easier to see it up against the reds. Like how red that is versus how dull these reds are. Take a little bit of water though. Yeah, get all these wiped down, hit it with 400 grit, and then I can start applying finish to everything. I got everything sanded up to 400. This one doesn't have any finish on it. This one does. Versus this one. So, yeah, I'm just using Odie's. I don't have any Scotch Brite pads at the moment, so I'm just taking some of the oil, smearing in a couple places on the front, and then just by hand massage it into the board. Just take the oil. Just rub it in everywhere. And then I'm taking a brown paper bag, and that's what I'm buffing it in with.
From the HRBT down to Mason Creek. This update sponsored by the Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles. Stop and go 264 westbound.
Easy. And you don't actually need much. I typically take a little bit on my finger. And then just start rubbing it in around the inside. Trying to make sure I get all the crevices. I'm not sure if that's the side with finish on it. And then you can see the bear. It doesn't have that gloss to it. Looks like I'm needing a little bit more to finish this whole piece though. This is what makes this stuff awesome. That, I actually took the gloves off because I wasn't getting good of a feel like I want to. But I can just take this stuff, smear some all in there, and then just take this hand and massage in the coat. Make sure I get the edges and everything with it. There's no other finish that I can think of. I can just rub with my bare hands and not be worried about my health. And then I can actually take both hands and get in there and start working it. It's kind of hard to do that with the video because I got to turn it on and off, which I'm about to stop it now before my hands get too dirty. But this stuff is freaking amazing, and it smells great. Got the back side of everything. About another 40 minutes or so, and I can come through and buff all these down for the last time. And then I'll have 5 finished cutting boards and 10 ashtrays. Let's see how many clients I can find for them. It's been about 2 months since I've built out the back of this truck, maybe 3, and I've steadily been adding stuff. But this truck allows me to do pretty much any and everything. I was actually able to make all these cutting board and ashtrays out of the back of the truck. It's not a full-on workshop, but it's pretty close. I've been able to rip, plane, route. I'm planning to add that router table toward the front, mount the table saw more efficiently inside of the truck, And then get some shore power set up to where I can just plug into the house instead of having to pull out an extension cord and then having outlets laid out throughout the truck. But once I get there, I'm going to be able to do anything. Alright. They're all buffed out. I have 5 cutting boards and 10 of these ashtrays. I'm going to keep one and give one to my mom. I'm going to keep one of the ashtrays and give one of the cutting boards to my mom. And I already have like orders for 2 of the ashtrays. Well, not even orders, but I have 2 people that want ashtrays and somebody else that wants a cutting board. So I think I have 3 cutting boards and like 7 ashtrays that are still available. You know, 420 is coming around the corner. So probably will be making more ashtrays and probably making some bigger ones because I know a lot of people that'll probably want some before the 20th. There's a couple that I really like. I really like this one. This one is really cool too. It kind of gives you like a little thumb holder. And then I like all of these that were made out of all the scraps and cut-offs. So I'm trying to pick which one I want to keep, but there's a lot of choices. And then trying to decide which one I'm going to get to my mom.